Hello everyone, welcome to Landa Labs. My name is Jose. So this is my first official upload and I'm incredibly excited to start this journey with you. Now I do want to be upfront. I'm not a professional technician or an expert and this isn't what I do for a living. This is a hobby I've fallen in love with and I don't take myself too seriously. I'm here for the fun of the build and the learning process that comes with it.
Let's check them out. We may have two all-in-one desktops here. Let's pull this one out.
And as you just saw, I managed to snag this Lenovo All-in-One for a whopping $10 at Goodwill.
Nice, for $9.99.
I grew up with the Nintendo 64, the Dreamcast, the original Xbox, the PS2. I'm a 90s kid, 90s, early 2000s. So that's my nostalgic era.
Windows.
But I didn't truly dive into the hardware side of things until just earlier this year. So it all started when I found a Johnsbow D32 Pro case at Goodwill back in February. That one find kickstarted my obsession with hardware, with technology, with breaking things apart and trying to fix them, scavenger hunting through Goodwills, trying to find some good deals, and I've managed to snag some absolutely killer deals like 3D printers for $20, full-on computers for $20 or less, curved monitors, just about anything you can think of, I've been able to source directly through Goodwill. So you'll quickly realize that Goodwill is my go-to spot. And with this channel, my goal is to find, to fix, and restore anything related to PCs, gaming, or interesting tech. So today, we're seeing if we can bring this Lenovo back from the dead. Since I found it buried in a pile of monitors for $10, there's a real chance that it's a goner. But if we can just get it to post, then maybe we can bring this thing back to life and we'll go from there. And as we just saw there, we got a post. This thing has some life in it. Now let's see if we can actually get into it. So we got it to post, we got into the login screen. Unfortunately, the previous owner left their password on here, and it's very likely that it still has their personal information. So instead of snooping around, I just initiated a factory reset to wipe the slate clean and start completely fresh. So that brings us to right here. Now, it's been spinning on this reset screen for a while now. I want to say 20 plus minutes, and it seems completely stuck. So at this point, there's not much left for me to do tonight. So I'm just going to call it a night for now, and we'll pick right back up tomorrow morning. All right, it's 5 a.m. I'm going to power it on and see where we're at now.
I tried rebooting it, but it seems to be stuck on this screen, so. Alright, so let's try booting it into the BIOS screen. Yes. Okay, we're in the BIOS. Let's see. All right, so we have a Lenovo C40-04. Looks like we got manufacturing date of the BIOS October 16, 2014. A little over 11 and a half years ago. All right, so let's see. I don't see the HDD being detected. And being that it's stuck on that Lenovo logo screen, there's a good chance that the storage is just bad. So we'll probably have to replace the storage. Thankfully, I do have a few extra ones, so.
Now, I haven't tested the HDD to see if it actually still works. However, I do believe that it's most likely the operating system that got corrupted, and I would assume a simple reinstall of the operating system would have allowed the computer to continue working with the same HDD. However, we just wanted to upgrade to a SATA SSD and give it the best opportunity for it to be useful at least for another couple of years.
Looks like one of those fat HDDs. We're replacing that thing. Okay. This is a big boy right here. $500 GB. It's crazy to think what they used to be, how thick, how heavy, and the fact that they had actual moving parts inside. Now they've turned it into this. Very reliable, very lightweight, and there's actually no moving parts to these. They got into these, and now in today's world we have NVMe, and then we have the smaller version of those. So it's pretty crazy to think how far we've come from this to this. But today we're working on this one. Now the only thing here though is now we got a giant empty space, and this obviously can't fit here. So the best thing we could probably do, just to avoid the rattling, is just to tape it. I got some blue painter's tape. All right, there we go. So we know for sure it was powering on and working.
All we need now is an operating system.
Alright, and the final thing is this has Linux installed, so we're gonna try to run Linux on this. All right. Things are looking good so far. Here we go. Moment of truth, guys. With a simple swap of the storage, we may have just brought back to life this Lenovo. There we go. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in. All right, so we're in. We're running Linux. Start up Firefox.
All right, so logging into YouTube, and I'm gonna do a simple stress test and just look for a 4K video and just to see how the playback is on this PC. The idea here is just to see how well it performs with those higher end videos.
Okay, it's loud, but it's having some trouble at the highest resolution. Let's drop it down. Still can't handle that. I'm gonna drop it down to 1080p. It has to handle this one. It's struggling. So it seems to be working at 7020, but at this point, look at that, it even struggles at 7020. So let's try to run a internet speed to see what it's running at here. Sometimes with these all-in-ones, they do just solder it in together and you have no chance to upgrade. Sometimes they do solder them and you have the chance to expand on it. So that would be another option, hopefully, but we will see. All right. Yeah, I mean, at 87 megabits, it should definitely have enough speed to be able to browse and watch videos without any problems. So the bottleneck is obviously going to be on the RAM. So let's see if this RAM is even upgradable. All right, yeah, about 4 total gigabytes, and we're using a total of 1 right now. But it doesn't really tell us if we have room for upgrade, so let's see. All right, so we got DDR3, which is not terrible. We currently have 1 installed, and we have an empty slot available for an upgrade. And I do believe this is the laptop RAM, the SODIMM, so not bad. The fact that we are able to upgrade it and the fact that it doesn't have soldered in RAM is good, because if we wanted to upgrade the entire thing, we are able to remove this 4 gigabyte and install 2 8 gigabytes and have a total of 16 gigabytes running.
That means theoretically we can put up to 16 gigabytes of RAM into this PC. However, there is such thing as an overkill, especially for older PCs like this one. So I'm just going to go with 8 gigabytes because I think that might be the sweet spot. And we're literally doubling the amount of RAM that it came with. So that's still a sufficient upgrade. I wasn't able to jump right back into it the very next day. It was actually several weeks later. However, the upside to that is I was able to set up my workstation to allow me to record and fix things much easier.
I have a feeling it's under here. So we gotta pull this thing out. There it is. Alright, with the stickers on it, we can remove this. Let's just take it out. Probably be the easiest. I know it's DDR3. We got DDR2 and DDR3. This is 4 gigabytes of DDR3, and then we also have right here 4 gigabytes of DDR3. So we're gonna pair with this to give it a grand total of 8 gigabytes plus that SSD, and that should be good. And then we'll go ahead and test it out. It does also have the CMOS battery right there that if I wanted to swap it out right now would be the perfect time, but I think we'll be all right. There we go. Go ahead and close this out. There we go. All right. All right, got it hooked up now. Now that we actually got the workstation set up. I have Windows 11 on this one, and I have Linux on this one. But for a computer this old, the best thing to do is use the light version of Linux, which is Mint, and that's what we're going to be installing in this one. Linux is a little bit different. In Windows, you would actually have to install everything before it even lets you log in. Linux allows you to log in without having to install it. And then up here, it gives you the option to install it. I have the other monitor hooked up to it. That's why you're seeing both. But we'll actually install Linux this time instead of just running it through the USB. Alright, the installation is underway. Alright, we got it installed. It's midnight, so tomorrow we'll test it out. Alright, it's been a couple days now, but finally got the chance to turn it back on and give it a few tests to see how it's doing with the new SSD and with the 8 gigabytes of RAM that it now has. As we remember at the beginning of the video, it took forever just to get to the main screen. And so that was the HDD problems. We swapped that out and we doubled the RAM that it has. But remember, it's a 2014, so we don't expect it to be some high performing PC. We don't expect it to be something crazy. This is more than likely probably going to go into the guest room, maybe something we can put in the kitchen for browsing recipes or watching a YouTube video while you're cooking, something like that. So let's go ahead and power it on and see how long it takes us to get to the home screen. And of course it's running on Linux now, so that'll definitely make it a lot faster. So it took about a minute, a little over a minute, say a minute and 10 seconds for us to get to the main screen. So we'll see a big difference just by browsing alone. We're gonna go ahead and open a browser, see how long that takes. I mean, that's pretty quick. That's quick and snappy. No issues there. I mean, let's just look something up, see? Very responsive. There we go. Look for some recipes. Say you have it in the kitchen. Maybe you want to put on some YouTube. Compare this to how it was. Huge difference. Let's just look up some some food recipe videos. All right, some Gordon Ramsay. Can never go wrong with some Gordon Ramsay. When you use it realistically, use it for what you want it to be used. It's perfect. I mean, it runs perfectly fine. Here you have Gordon Ramsay.
Asian staple, noodles. Learn to cook those properly, and you'll be surprised how quick and easy it is to knock up a delicious dinner. Tokai noodles. Now these are rice noodles. Into a bowl, and just pour a hot water.
See? So, very, very good for an everyday use PC. This thing is still very capable even today. So those upgrades alone brought this $10 PC back to life. Another thing we can do is we can run a speed test on this. All right, so we'll do fast.com, check out our internet speed. And I mean, even for an old PC, it shows it with a couple of little upgrades. Even something as old as a 12-year-old PC like this, an all-in-one Lenovo. 180 megabits per second. So we literally more than doubled the system's performance with a simple RAM upgrade. By adding that second stick, we're now running dual channel memory for a total of 8 gigabytes. So this is giving this all-in-one some serious room to breathe. 180 megabits per second is the sweet spot. It's perfect for streaming videos, for browsing, typical web browsing. It's perfect for an everyday use computer. So we're not trying to game in this. We're not trying to use it for something crazy. We found it at Goodwill for $10. So I simply just wanted to tinker with it and see what we can get out of it. And just with a couple of upgrades, we're talking total spent maybe $20-$25, we have a fully working all-in-one Lenovo PC. At this point, we've proven it works. We've officially brought this thing back from certain doom. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody's flocking to thrift stores looking for 12-year-old all-in-ones. So this could have easily ended up in an e-waste graveyard. So I'm just glad I stumbled across it. I brought it home to tinker with and actually made it functional and convenient for everyday use. Now, if you remember at the beginning of the video, I did also find that Samsung all-in-one. Now, I still haven't been able to find a power supply for it, and I refuse to just order one online. Half the fun is hunting it down at a random thrift store, so I'm still keeping my eyes peeled, and as soon as I track one down, you know I'm gonna drop a video on it. But that pretty much wraps up this restoration. There's not much else we can do with this machine, and since it was never meant to be a gaming PC, we're not even gonna try that. I had a blast with this project and I've learned a lot, so I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. I've got a massive list of gear and projects to tackle, so hopefully I can keep this momentum going and bring you guys along for the ride. All right. Well, I'm glad I can finally say that it's been concluded. I'm happy with the outcome and we're happy to see what's going to be next. So with that said, see you guys later.